Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Tampere University admissions webinar. We're still having participants dropping in, so we'll just hold off a few more seconds here before we start. Just as an introduction, my name is Sara, and I work in the admissions office. I oversee the admission process for our international admissions. And today we'll be looking at the joint application period for 2026 for our bachelor's programs taught in English. Okay, I think we'll get started. So the application period for the bachelor's programs has started yesterday on the 7th of January, and it will end on the 21st of January with the application period closing at 3 p.m. Finnish time. So that's something to keep in mind. Here's just an overview of today's agenda, what we'll be going through. It includes looking at the programs we have on offer and on how to apply. We'll also review the eligibility requirements as well as check out the admission process as a whole. And then we'll also take a short look at the application documents required when you're applying. And at the end, we'll go over a few practical points. And then my colleague there, he will take over and tell you about the financial aspects of applying and studying. We have the Q&A section, question and answer section open for you to post your questions, but we want to remind you also not to ask any very personal questions. So if you have any specific questions regarding your situation, then we would ask you to be in contact with us at the email address shown at the bottom of this slide. Otherwise, any general questions, please feel free to ask those. We have my colleagues from the admissions office, as well as some of the faculty educational specialists available to answer your questions. Okay, so let's get started. As mentioned, we're talking about the bachelor's programs today and applying to the bachelor's programs fully taught in English. We have 3 programs with a total of 6 different specializations. In the program of science and engineering, we have computing and electrical engineering as one specialization, and natural sciences and mathematics is the second one. Then we have the program in socially sustainable societies. And then finally, we have the program in sustainable urban development, where we offer 3 specializations: administrative sciences, social sciences, and technology. Graduates of our bachelor's programs, they do continue or are eligible to continue directly into a master's degree program at Tampere University without having to reapply. In other words, if you're accepted to one of our bachelor's programs, you will automatically be granted study rights to our bachelor's and master's. So that means 3 years of bachelor's and 2 years of master's studies. In total, the 5 years of education with the one application form. In science and engineering, you can choose from several different master's programs based on what you choose as your major and minor in your bachelor's degree. And then in each of the sustainable urban development track, there's one specific master's program for each track. Information on the specific tracks would be found in on the website for that specific program. And then in the program of socially sustainable societies, you would continue into the master's program in social science research. The intake for each bachelor's program specialization varies between 10 and 40 students. So you'd have to check the admission criteria and eligibility criteria to find out also what the intake amount is for each program. The application process to our bachelor's programs is part of the Finnish National Joint Application Period to Higher Education. And as mentioned, it started yesterday on the 7th of January and will continue until the 21st of January at 3 p.m., closing at 3 p.m. And the portal closes then automatically. So you would no longer be able to modify your application or submit any new ones after that time. Application submission is done on the studyinfo.fi website. Also, something to keep in mind is that as of January 1st of 2025, applicants from outside the European Union or Switzerland are required to pay an application fee to apply to higher education studies, and the application fee is 100 euros. And this applies to both our bachelor's and master's level programs. The one fee covers all applications for studies starting in the same academic term. So for instance, our master's application period just ended, the application period just ended on Monday. And if you happen to have applied in that application period and paid the 100 euro fee, then when applying now for the bachelor's programs, you would have already paid the fee and you wouldn't have to prepay it again. It would actually be covered with that one payment. And also, if you decide to apply in other separate application periods throughout the spring with studies starting in autumn of 2026, then you wouldn't have to pay any additional fee. But then again, if you apply later on in the future for application for studies starting in a different application term or educational term. So for instance, for 2027, then again, the application fee would apply at that point. It's good to keep in mind that the application fee does not guarantee admission to offered studies. So for more information on the application fee, what it contains, who it applies to, and what's required, we do recommend going to see the study info website, and the direct link to the correct page will be posted in the chat for you. So you can find that directly there. During this application period, you can apply to up to 6 programs on the same application, and that can be to any Finnish higher education institution that offers programs for application in this same period. So that's something to keep in mind. With regards to our general eligibility for our bachelor's programs, they're based on the Finnish matriculation examination, or in other words, the Finnish high school, or any comparable upper secondary education that provides you with eligibility to equivalent university level bachelor's programs in the country you've gone to school in and where your education has been completed. You can also apply in the final year of your secondary education, and in that case, you would be offered a study place conditionally. If offered a study place, it would be conditional, and you would need to graduate and deliver your certified documents then by the given deadline. And this deadline is slightly different depending on the type of your previous diploma. You just need to follow the instructions given to you after being offered the study place. Okay, so a look at how we organize the admission. We have 2 different admission groups. The first one is admission group 1 is based on the SAT test. And in our science and engineering program, as well as the socially sustainable societies program, it also requires a 2-minute video to be uploaded as part of the requirements. For those of you who don't know what a SAT test is, it's a scholastic aptitude test that measures reading, writing, as well as math skills. And this allows us to evaluate applicants on an equal basis because everybody would be taking the same test regardless of where you've completed your upper secondary education. The test is organized by the College Board, and there are various locations around the world where this test can be taken. For this ongoing application period, the last test that could be taken was in December of 2025. So unfortunately, if you have not taken the test then it's too late to do it for this application round. But any tests done after the 1st of January 2024 up until the December test can be used for this application round. In this application group or admission group, your English language proficiency is proven with the SAT test, so no other language test is required if you're applying in this SAT based admission group. Each program has its own minimum requirements for these tests, and for specific details, you should check the program-specific requirements. The link to our website that has the bachelor's programs listed will be posted in the chat for you. Here also on the slide on the right-hand side, you can see the minimum requirements for each program, but further details on the requirements are on the web pages. So please visit those to find out the exact requirements. And also it's good to remember that reaching the minimum score does not mean direct admission to the program. So it is still based on looking at all the different applicants and putting them in order. And then the offers are given based on that. Admission Group 2 is organized, is the certificate-based admission, and it only applies to those with the Finnish matriculation examination or the IB diploma, the International Baccalaureate diploma, or the European Baccalaureate diploma. Also, the German DIA matriculation, which is completed in Finland, is taken into consideration in this application group. Each program has its own minimum requirements, again, for this intake, and with the different certain subjects being looked at for each program. So if you're applying in Admission Group 2, please check the minimum requirements in the admissions criteria. And again, the link was posted previously for you, so you can find the direct link to the programs and check their specific requirements. When it comes to the language test requirements or language requirements for Admission Group 2, these can be fulfilled either by meeting the minimum requirements specified for your previous education, so for your high school requirements, or by submitting a valid language test. And if submitting a language test, then it would have to be completed prior to the end of the application period, which was the 21st of January. When applying, the documents that you are required to submit must be uploaded no later than the 28th of January by 3 p.m. Finnish time. So there's an extra week after the application period closes to upload documents. Scans of your original documents are sufficient at this time, but you will be required to submit officially certified or legalized copies if you're offered a study place. Please note that you must upload scans of your upper secondary education, even if you are applying in the admission group based on the SAT test score and possible video requirement. Also, if you're applying in your final year of secondary education, you must graduate by the 17th of August to be eligible. And in this case, you would need to submit the latest transcript of your study records or another certificate provided that indicates the qualification and the expected date of graduation. And if you're in your final year of your International Baccalaureate or European Baccalaureate, or even the German DIA matriculation outside of Finland, then the predicted grades for those must be submitted by the 31st of May this year. For the German DIA matriculation completed in Finland, the deadline is slightly different. That would be at the end of April. But all those dates are something that you would receive information on if offered a study place. Other necessary documents are copies of your passport's ID page, and if you already have a residence permit to Finland, a copy of that on your application. And then something to keep in mind, if you're applying in admission group 1 based on the SAT tests, then you should submit the test results directly from College Board, and our code is found here on this slide. So it's 0599. If you're applying in admission group 2 and you know you do not meet the language requirements set in for the previous degree, then be sure to complete the language test. Again, the last date to complete the language test would be the 21st of January. So if you already haven't taken the test and know you might need it, be sure to look into that as soon as possible, as slots book up very quickly for most tests. The results can arrive later than the 21st of January, as long as you've taken it by that date. Also, be sure to share any results with us in the event that the language test provider requires you to specifically share them with us. Again, information on the language test requirements can be found on our website, and the link will be posted in the chat for you now. And finally, here are some practicalities to keep in mind. To be considered for a Tampere University tuition fee scholarship, you must apply for the scholarship on the same application form and during the application period. But Terhi will tell you more about financial matters as well as applying for scholarships and the few scholarships we might have available in just a moment. Results for the admission group 1 will be published by the end of March, and for admission group 2 by the end of May. And we do have a waiting list that applies to both admission groups for all our bachelor's programs, and that waiting list runs until the 4th of August. So that's something to keep in mind, that the lineups move up until then. Also, something to keep in mind is that you can only accept one study place leading to a higher education degree in Finland in education that begins in the same academic term. And this is something that's really important to keep in mind when applying to many programs and higher education institutions in Finland. So if you accept one study place, all the other offers that might be pending would cancel at that point. So that's it for my presentation. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us at the email address listed here. I'll pass you over to Terhi now. She can continue with her portion of the presentation. And then maybe once she's done, we can take a look at our website, and I'll show you some information from there as well. So Terhi, please go ahead.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Please bear with me for just a couple of seconds, so I will find my material to share. All right, I think you should now be able to see the presentation.
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. All right, hello everyone, good afternoon, afternoon here in Finland. Welcome to our webinar on my behalf as well. As Sarah mentioned, I will be talking to you now about fees, scholarships, and living costs. So basically all kinds of financial matters to do with your possible studies here at Tampere University. I'll start with some information which is relevant for fee-paying students, and then we'll end with some more general financial matters. As I'm sure you know, fee-paying in Finland are students who are citizens of non-EU EEA countries who are studying for a bachelor's or a master's degree in English. Our fee structure here at Tampere University is really simple. The annual tuition fee in all of our bachelor's programs is 10,000 euro per academic year. And then on the master's level, the annual tuition fee in all of our master's programs is currently 12,000 euro. And the master's program fee is of course relevant to you if you also complete a master's degree at Tampere University. The annual tuition fee must be paid each academic year or semester before you can enroll for studies during that particular semester. So do make sure to budget for your annual payments beforehand. They will be coming repeatedly, including the higher fee in your master's degree, if that is relevant. Semesters start in August and in January, so this is when the relevant deadlines will be also for the fee payments. There are some exceptions to the liability to pay tuition fees. For example, if you already reside in Finland with a permanent residence permit, you will be exempt from tuition fees while that residence permit is valid. If you've been following us and maybe finished education for a longer period of time, you may need to note that there have been legislation changes in Finland during the last year, which affect the definition of the fee paying status and especially the exemptions. So if you think you might have a grounds for an exemption, I think it's a very good idea to check our website for more detailed information on the fee paying status. As a rule, all of our fee-paying students pay full tuition annually. However, we do offer an exclusive opportunity for academically merited applicants to apply for a scholarship at admission. The Tampere University Scholarship, which we currently award at admission, covers 50% of the annual tuition fee. It is a tuition fee waiver. We waive half of the scholarship holders' tuition fee, and they pay the other half. So it is available to fee-paying students only. It is a highly competitive scholarship. We can only award a handful of scholarships university-wide during this admission season. And scholarships are awarded on the basis of the academic merits of applicants. In order to be nominated for a scholarship, an applicant will need to excel and stand out in multiple factors in the admissions process. So, for example, a very good SAT score alone will not be sufficient for a nomination. Financial need, unfortunately, is a factor which we cannot consider in our scholarship program at all. In admission to bachelor's programs, what you should notice is that it is only possible to receive a scholarship to one bachelor study option, and it is not possible to get a scholarship from the waiting list. I'll explain the one scholarship offer policy in a bit more detail in a moment. Scholarships awarded at admission are always valid for the program duration. So a scholarship that is awarded when you gain admission for both bachelor's and master's studies is valid for a total of 5 academic years. But you do need to notice that there are some conditions that the scholarship is subject to. For example, in order to retain a scholarship in master's studies, you will need to graduate with your bachelor's degree within the program period, so in 3 academic years, to retain the scholarship also in your master's. Applying for a scholarship is simple. You will need we'll apply for the scholarship using the same studyinfo.fi application which you use to apply for admission as well. In your application, you will get a question on whether you wish to apply for a scholarship or not. So on that question, just click yes. In addition, we will ask you to write a scholarship application letter on the application form. In the letter, we would like to hear about what in the studies that you're applying to motivates you. Maybe something about how you think your skills fit the program profile or why you think you would excel in that program, and how your studies in that program would serve your career goals. You write the letter in a text box on the application form. It will have a maximum limit of 3,000 characters. So you will not need to submit any separate attachments, but you will actually write the letter on the application form itself. In the scholarship question on the application form, you will also be asked to place the Tampere University programs which you apply for admission to in your order of preference. So basically, place the program you're most interested in as number one, and so on. This will affect the program you will receive the possible scholarship offer to. I mentioned earlier that it's only possible to receive an offer in one of the programs you get admitted to. Now, if you do qualify for a scholarship, you will receive the scholarship offer in the program which is highest in your order of preference, and you qualify for a scholarship then. So, for example, if you apply to, say, 4 Tampere University bachelor's programs, you get admitted in all 4, but only qualify for a scholarship in programs that you've placed as numbers 1 and 3. You will only receive a scholarship to your option number 1, because that is the highest on your list. You should note that admission to study is a separate process, even though the applications are on the same form in study info. So you can still get several offers of admission, and the priority order does not affect the application for admission. It only affects the scholarship application. Scholarship applications are evaluated at the same time with the applications for admission, and you will get the results of the application for admission and also the results of your scholarship application in the same email when you get the admission results, either in March or in May. Now, as I mentioned, our scholarship program is highly competitive. There are only a handful of scholarships available university-wide in all of our bachelor's and master's programs altogether. But the good news is that fee-paying students who are not awarded tuition fee scholarships are eligible for an early bird offer, which is a €2,000 discount on your first year tuition fee. If you apply for a scholarship, this discount also applies in all of those programs in which you get admitted, but do not get a scholarship offer, even if you get a scholarship offer in one of your programs. So in our previous example, in which you received a scholarship offer in program number 1 in your priority order, the early bird offer would be available in programs number 2, 3, and 4 on your list. There are no separate applications necessary for the early bird offer. To use the offer, you simply need to accept your study place and pay the reduced tuition fee within 2 weeks of receiving your admissions decision, and you'll be entitled to use that discount. What you do need to notice is that if you get admitted from the waiting list, the early bird offer will be available to you if there is still 2 or more weeks left to the deadline for accepting the study place. The time to accept the study place will be reduced to less than 2 weeks starting on 26th of June. So this is when the early bird offer will also cease to be available. So in practice, if you are admitted from the waiting list on or after the 26th of June, you can no longer use the early bird offer, but you can still start your studies by accepting your study place by the deadline that is given to you in your admissions letter, and by paying the full tuition fee. The payment schedule for the early bird is pretty tight. You need to make the payment within 2 weeks, but our payment process is really straightforward. For tuition fee payments, we use the Flywire payment platform, which offers a number of payment methods, including bank transfers, credit cards, possibly also many more, depending on where you're paying from. Usually it's possible to pay in your own currency if that's something that you prefer, but euro payments are also always possible. Even though the process is smooth, if you do wish to take advantage of the discount, the schedule is pretty tight, so you should make sure beforehand that you have the funds available to make the payment within the necessary time frame. The 2-week payment period will be calculated from the time when you're admitted, and this also applies to students admitted from a waiting list if at least 2 weeks is left until the deadline for accepting the study place. For our bachelor's students, we also do have an additional early bird, so to say, opportunity at the start of their master's studies. If that is something that they also choose to do. When you graduate with your bachelor's degree at Tampere University within the program period, so in 3 academic years, you will qualify for a graduation scholarship, which will again give you a 2,000 euro reduction on the tuition fee for the first year of your master's degree studies here at Tampere University. Okay, I think that was the essentials on tuition fees and scholarships. And finally, I have a few words on budgeting for studies, which concerns all students and applicants, so not only fee-paying students. The only scholarships we offer are designed to help fee-paying students relieve some of their fee burden, and any other funding is not available. So it is important for all of our students to budget for your studies carefully. All students must fund their studies, must fund all of their living expenses themselves, and make sure that adequate funding is available for the whole study time. If you need to apply for a residence permit to study in Finland, the immigration authority, it's called Migri, will have its own requirements. In order to get a residence permit for a student, you will need to have a minimum of 800 euro at your disposal per month. And you will need to prove this at the time when you apply for the residence permit. I'd say that the 800 euro per month is a good minimum budget for what you should have at your disposal to support yourself in Tampere. If you are really careful with your money, I'd say that for most students, if in order to live comfortably, you may also want to budget a bit more. But obviously, your living costs will depend largely also on your personal preferences. So it is a good idea to do some research on living in Tampere, on the different kinds of expenses, so you can budget according to your preferences. You can see here on the slide some examples of what you need to budget for when you plan your studies, including some fees which are compulsory for everyone, such as the healthcare and student union membership fees, which each and every one of our degree students have to pay each year. In addition, obviously, to the obvious expenses from housing and food, for example. If you need to apply for a residence permit, you should also remember that that process will also cost some costs. The application comes with a fee, which has actually just been increased. And in some cases, you might even need to travel to another country for your appointment to prove your identity, which again will cost some money for the travel. Now, to help you support yourself, some of you may be thinking of finding a job in Tampere during your studies, and that may be an additional option. But something that you should bear in mind is that it should never be your only plan to get a job for supporting yourself during your studies. In Finland, job opportunities on campus are not common like in many other countries. And because of this, getting a part-time job here may be harder than in many other places. It will require activity and initiative, and in many cases also maybe some Finnish language skills. Now, many of our students do work during their studies, so it is a possibility. But it is not a given that you will be able to find a job, and in any case, it may take quite a bit of time. So it's always a must to budget carefully and prepare for your living costs already before you start your studies. Now, even though you do need to be prepared for the costs and be careful with your money, Tampere is a true student city. So you'll also find many student discounts around the city. As an example, student meals at campus restaurants are subsidized. So you can eat a full meal for about 3 euro. I think 3 euro and 10 cents is the exact amount at the moment. You'll also, for example, get access to student healthcare services with affordable fees. And on our website, you will actually find lots of information to help you budget for your expenses, including some tips and experiences from our student ambassadors who are previous or are current students who have practical experience on living in Tampere. So do check that out when you're you're making your plans and budgeting. All right, that's it from me today. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions on what I've talked about, you can still ask in the Q&A. We'll still hang around for a few moments with Sarah to answer your questions. But do remember still not to share any personal information in your questions. Keep them on a general level. If you have any questions on your personal situation at any time, also after this session, you're always welcome to send us an email to our admissions office. You can again see the address here on the slide. Best of luck in your application process. I hope to see you here on campus in August.
And as promised, I'll just share with you.
I'll stop my share.
Some information from our website. Okay, can you see the web page now? Can you confirm? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so this is one of the web pages that a link to was posted in the chat. This page has the overview of our 6 programs or specialties that are specializations that are available for application. And by clicking on each web page, you can get more information about that specific program, as well as there's a link directly to studyinfo.fi for that program's application, etc. But I'll just also show here some general information on the application process. So on our website is a timeline where you can see important dates as far as what have been specified so far. There's a step-by-step checklist that can be found on the website. And then at the bottom of each page, you have links to further information for the program or for the application process. For instance, on this page is the general eligibility requirements, which apply to everyone, regardless of which admission group you would be applying in, and then more specific information on the different application or admission groups here. But again, specific details are on each program's admission criteria in study info. We also have more details on the language requirements if you need to provide some other method than your previous education or the SAT, as with regards to the tests that are available and that we accept, as well as the minimum requirements for those. And then finally, we have the application documents webpage, which also was linked to you in the chat. And on here is more detail on the different documents that would be required for you. So please do familiarize yourself with these web pages, as well as then the actual study info information that can be found, again, through the links that I showed you from the specific application or program web pages, or then by going to studyinfo.fi. It will open up to this view, and here you see in the red box is the joint application to higher education, the 7th through the 21st of January. That's the application period that we're talking about at the moment. There's a link directly to the application form. I'll show you that just in a moment. There's some application instructions, and then the study programs available. I went ahead and opened up that application or that web page. So by clicking this study programs available, it opened up to a web page where I was able to sort out Tampere University programs available by clicking on the bachelor's and master's, application period ongoing, and location Tampere region. And it shows here our programs available for application. And then again, by clicking on a specific program, it opens up that program detail, showing you ongoing application period. And then further clicking, it takes you to the joint application box where you can either fill directly the application form with that specific program coming up as your first application or first program for application, and then you can choose more programs on there, up to 6 programs. But this is the specific information that you should also read and familiarize yourself with very in depth. So the admission criteria for that specific program. The general eligibility criteria is listed here again, which is the same information on our website. But then by scrolling down, you find the actual program specific information here, which shows, for instance, for this specific program, which was administrative sciences, what the SAT test score would be. And then it also has links, if you're applying in the certificate-based admission, to the set requirements for this program at at the Finnish national website address that lists those requirements. And then at the bottom, it has more details about the publication of the selection results, conditional offers, etc., as well as a list of the application attachments. And then just a quick look at this is a blank application form. So this would be what you see when you open up the application. If you were to go from the previous page where it actually you were on a program, had chosen a program, it would list that here as the first study program. But here you can see you have the list of all available programs available in Finland for this specific application period, and you can add up to 6, and then you can also prioritize or move them around on the application. Then you just fill out all the details. This is an interactive application form, so it will tell you at the top if there's some questions missing, and it won't let you submit if some mandatory information is missing from the application. Just to show what Terhi was talking about, it doesn't. It also gives more information based on the answers you give. So, for instance, if you answer that you are not from an EU or EEA country, then you would get the question for the scholarship, etc. So it's an interactive form, but fairly easy to fill out, and it does let you know if something is missing. So that's an overview about these information. Please do familiarize yourself with all of these, and let us know. Be in contact if you have any questions with regards to these. We'll stay online now for some time in case you have further questions. But that's as far as the information that we had.